turned something on to beep.
Yep, that beeped. About the same time I was cracking this open.
So I was like, what was that? Yeah, I haven't even.
It's virtual Mountain Dew.
Dude, we're so far removed
shit.
from. All right.
Out of place here.
Right? Okay. Yeah,
like
I can. Oh, I need to slightly adjust that camera. I'm a little big head Todd and the Monsters right there. I think I just need to. I'm just gonna literally just zoom out, even though I'm usually at punched in all the way. So there, I'm good there. We're good there.
Yep.
You're good there. You know, got the. You know, it's funny because I always have the grids on, so you can see all the.
There we go.
You know, the composition setups. My Z9, it was actually a nightmare to try to figure out how to turn the damn things on.
Yeah, I just silenced my phone. Everybody's talking about cameras in my one group, so that conversation's blowing up.
Right. All right. That is. I'll leave it on vibrate. It's been 2 months.
Yeah,
It's been over 2 months.
I think December 13th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
Before Christmas.
It was before Christmas, so I am removed. See, 3 weddings, a house remodel. What else? Supposed to be in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this week, and here I am.
Well, that's a little bit of a distance between here and there.
I spent all my money on a house remodel. So I'm not. Well, that, and it doesn't help that the Silverado took a shit last week. So.
Right. Yeah.
So that's going to Omaha next week, mid next week, down to Michael Cerizzo's place. And Mike Cerizzo was a photographer in Storm Lake for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he still does some, except now he has a basically mechanic shop. Yeah, he likes to work. He likes to work on what he likes to work on.
Right. Yeah.
So
He's very picky and choosy.
he's kind of It's not just you don't just walk in and you take your shit box in there and he's like okay.
Yep.
But I did reach out to him because I was trying to find somebody to work on my truck that wasn't a dealer, for reasons of dealers want to put in dealer parts and I couldn't because I wanted to eliminate the collapsing lifter thing in the truck that has caused troubles. This is now the second time that since I've owned the truck. So couldn't go to a dealer. Dalton in town, I really, really, really wanted to take it to him. And Dalton, he just kind of hesitated a little bit. And he's like, it might be a little bit more than I want to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that. So
Yep.
there was no push on any of that. So I said, okay, cool, I got you. Another friend of mine had recommended a shop in Storm Lake, but it was somebody I didn't know. Like I don't know him.
Right.
And so I'm very relationship based on all of the services that I like to use. I like to use who I like to use because I either know them and I trust them.
Right.
You know, reputation is one thing, but like I prefer to know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
When you get it, I'm going to go spend $4,000 in
Right.
labor costs to fix my truck.
It's not $20 or $50
Yeah.
or something like that.
Well, I got burned in May in Florida. So found a reputable shop in Big Pine Key because my air condenser blew out on the way to Florida.
I remember that.
Right. And so upon recommendations went in, I had talked to 2 mechanics. They said these are the hours that it's going to take to replace this.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it to the shop. They're like, yep, it's this many hours at this much money. And these are the parts and stuff. So it's going to be $700 and some. I said, deal. Sweet. Fix the AC.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to pick it up. Oh, we had the hours wrong. And then they tacked on another $400 because Iowa boy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
And so it was one of those that got you by the balls.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? Now, the keys were still in my truck. I could have just bounced, been like, all right, well, I'm leaving you $770. But first of all, I didn't want to go to jail somewhere else because I don't know how that's classified. And second off, I was like, you know what? Whatever. Fine. I hope karma's a bitch.
Yeah. At a certain point, you just cut your losses and just move on. So,
but yeah, truck took a shit last week. So I had a rough day. I had imposter syndrome yesterday. That's where I don't know if you get this because, you're in your world. So
Yeah, I enjoy my world. Do I get there? Absolutely.
So my whole imposter syndrome is that like I'm a fraud and I shouldn't be doing this because I'm not good enough. I see other people getting things and stuff done or awards, and I kind of lost my shit yesterday. And Melanie goes, "Well, you don't get that stuff because you don't enter the competitions for that stuff.
Right. Yep.
So enter the competitions for that stuff and shut up."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it maybe wasn't quite put like that because I was like, I'm just going to be an asshole. And I kind of snapped him. And she just looked at me and she's like, well, you didn't do that. So zip it.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
you could have done something about it, but
why didn't you? Why didn't you? You know? And so that was, I don't know. I was just having a rough day. And then I shouldn't complain. I bitch. I piss. I moan. Like when I'm having a bad day. And that's what that whole, you know, the peaks and valleys thing. And that's the joy of being self-employed and all that other stuff. But, you know, it's like I get one email that's phenomenal, like a house appraisal, which went really well for the house I renovated. And then I have one thing, I'm trying to edit a photo, and I was trying to do one of a free throw that was different than what everybody else has done because my camera shoots so fast, so I was using every frame, all 20 frames or 30 frames or whatever, however long it takes for him to shoot that ball and make it through the hoop.
Yep.
And I was fighting the masking on it, and then so I just exited out of Photoshop. And Mel goes, well, I want to see it. And I go, I deleted it. I go, so when I do it, I'm going to have to start over. And it was just, I was in a mood, and I was being a little pissy little girl, I guess. And so, but, you know, the truck thing costed me $5,000 or more to get my truck fixed that I kind of need. I need to be over working on another house. You know, got a couple things to do over at McKenna's house, but I've booked like 3 weddings in the last week. Like,
right.
Shut up, Tim. Like, life could be way worse.
Right. You're looking at the negative aspects, and you know, I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially this time of year. You know, we're, you know, up here in the Great White North, if you want to call it that. You know, you don't have the sunny days, and it's more cloudy and gloomy, and you're not making it outside, you know, getting some sunshine, some fresh air, and, you know, everybody's getting that cabin fever or spring fever. You know, they're ready for some sunshine and, you know, get out and do some things. And, you know, it's the same way for me. You know, I'm looking forward to getting out more, shooting on the weekends, you know, shooting out in the evenings. With the nice weather here lately, I've tried to make it out, you know, go on walks with the camera, stuff like that. I've got a film club meeting this weekend. Weather looks good on Sunday. So, you know, anytime I go down there, I'm shooting at least 2 to 3 hours after the meeting. I don't know if it'll be quite that this next time, but I'll, because the meeting's in the afternoon. So I'll probably show up, shoot beforehand, and then go to the meeting, shoot after, and then head home.
Right.
So.
Well, I think I've done some work. I've done very little pleasure work, and I think that's part of my problem right now. And the other part that I wanted to be in Jackson Hole this week, to go do that, which it's really fucking cold right now. And, you know, for how many months have I gone back and forth on lenses? Like what to buy, what to rent, what to whatever, right?
Sometimes it's been you know, 3 different times in 1 week, and you're mentioning a different lens, and should I do this or shouldn't I do that? Or
so I don't know if it's a wise thing for me to go spend, you know, a few $1,000s on a telephoto, like a 400. There's a gal that's got a 600 f4 VR for sale for $5,000. And I was like, that would have been really nice. And now my truck.
Right.
So I was like, well, there goes that. But, you know, I get a deal on Nikon. So I get like 10% on one lens. So I think I'm gonna buy that 400 4.5 with the 1.4 teleconverter. I'm looking through all my crap, and I'm like, I just need to sell some of this gear.
Yep.
But yeah, there's my whining train. We should probably do an introduction since it's been 2 months. So welcome everybody. It is February 23rd.
Yep.
2023. So it was December the last time that we were together, and so yeah. Welcome to Exposed. I'm Tim.
I'm Jason.
Let's get into it a little bit. So I have been super busy. So I did the house remodel. So we bought that house, renovated it, got McKenna and Cole moved in, getting everything set up. I got a couple things to do. I've got to finish the closet in the baby's room so they can get stuff hung up. But they are moved in. I got one other cabinet that just came in, so I can finish hanging that. So that was quite the thing. quite a bit of equity that was built into that because I had to reappraise. So that was exciting because the before and the after pictures are completely different.
Yep.
Like I said, I'd shot 2 weddings for myself, and then I shot one for Brenda Shank.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually she had me come down to Des Moines a few weeks ago, and I shot sports portraits with her. We just talked about that last night. She was supposed to send me an email to show me. She said they turned out pretty good. And then, because I also want to talk to her because I booked the same wedding so she's photographing, I'm filming. Mm-hmm. And so that's been good. And it's still funny because I know you and I talked about this. I'm like, people are weird about when you ask them who their photographer is, if they're hiring you for something else, or they're secretive. They're like, oh, it's somebody we know. I'm like, no, I probably know them. Mm-hmm. Like, and we probably talk. Like, it's okay.
Right.
Like, and it's funny because I think people think that there's more animosity between us as creatives than there is. Now, there's some that we don't get along with, or some that don't like me or you, or I just don't like you in general, but because you always talk over my head. But you get it. It's and I was like, I talked to a lot of photographers. Like, I don't have a problem. Mm-hmm. I have a list of people that I recommend out if I can't shoot it, and so it's a lot less of a secretive world than people think it is.
Right. Yeah.
But. And I know you have been super busy with your darkroom film stuff.
Yeah, I've, I kind of been in the last year putting together a darkroom. I had one set up in my basement, or not my basement, in my bathroom for the longest time, and that was just kind of get me started. And I mean, you flip the seat down on the toilet, and you're pretty much sitting on the toilet, putting prints through chemicals and in your bathroom on the weekends or during the week, and that was just kind of learning the process. I did a little bit of that back in high school, my junior year, but it was very short-lived. We just learned the extreme basics, and you had no control really over anything at the time. So to me, it just felt too automated. And it just wasn't enjoyable. Now with the different stuff that I've learned, the techniques, being able to have full control over the camera when taking the image, and now understanding, the control that you have after the image when it comes to, if you want to call it post-processing. And so there's, I'm not going to get into the terminology or
please
anything
don't,
like that because I will lose everybody.
Yeah.
There might be 1 or 2 people that are going, yeah, I know.
Well, and it's funny because, like, you'll send me a Snapchat, and then I'm just like, because you will literally say, I'm going to blow your mind. And I'm looking at it, and I'm watching, and I'm listening while I'm waiting for somebody's drink order or whatever. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it's the same, So a phrase my dad used to use when I was big into construction was, he goes, you have forgotten more about construction than I'll ever know. Mm-hmm. And so you're kind of in that realm of you have forgotten more about photographing and developing and printing film mm-hmm. that I'll ever understand.
Right.
Part of it is because it's not what I do, mm-hmm. and I know you'd really like me to do more of it, mm-hmm. Because you're always like, I think you're like, you should do this in film, and you have 1 or 2 cameras with film in it mm-hmm. at your house,
right.
ready to shoot. Just do it, mm-hmm. and it's so like there's times that I want to. Mm-hmm. So, and I've done it, right? Because you've handed me a camera and been like, all right, so you're going somewhere, go take some pictures. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoy it when I do, but I have to get into that.
Right.
And I've just got so much.
You keep yourself at full throttle all the time.
Yeah.
That when it's time to slow down, you're just like, I'm just done. I don't want to talk cameras, and I'm just I'm done.
Or it's not that I don't want to. Well, yeah, I guess I don't want to talk cameras, but I don't want to do anything that requires extra brain effort.
Right. Yep.
So I will still go out and shoot,
mm-hmm.
but it's something that I want to do. I'm going to go, I went out and stood for a couple hours attempting to do eagles the other day. And I have this,
into the,
dude, I have, which gets in the long lens thing, right? And I have a really, my luck with finding the right group of eagles is horrendous. And the other problem is that when people call me, like I'm in the middle of shit.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I got a whole bunch here right now. I'm like, well, I don't have the lens with me. My big 150 to 600. I have a teleconverter, but I was fighting that the last time I played with it, and that, I think some of that was me, because once I upped the shutter speed and changed some things, it got better. But I need to learn to dial it back just a little bit. Because the one thing I learned a long time ago is it doesn't matter how many hours a day you work, you still have the same amount of money at the end of the day. Because you're either going to spend it or you're not going to have it, or you just need to pull your head out of your ass and be smarter about a lot of things. And I think part of that is just how my mentality has been since I was 14. When I started working, like you just work. That's what you do.
But I think that's even a Midwest thing. Like,
True.
I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about that the other day, and I'm like, to us it just seems normal. Like you have a job, like you just you work. Especially on Monday through Friday, you're gonna work, and sometimes you're gonna work the weekends. And I think that's just strong Midwest like work ethic. That's what's brought into us, and that's just the way of life around here.
Right. Yeah, and it's here. You got to keep that closer to you, by the way. You sound better when you're close. You get that good radio voice, Jason. Because that's it. There's some of the ladies that like to listen to Jason talk.
And I don't get it, but
yeah. Oh, I really like his voice. I've heard that several times.
Right.
I really like listening to Jason.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's actually funny. So I was over at Med Spa in Pocahontas, and I was doing some clips and stuff for him for some of their. They were doing brow stuff, eyelash and brow tinting. So they don't, like, the ladies don't have to wear makeup, and they get the color that they like. And then she did, God, what was it? Like CO2 laser or something like that. And so, but we were talking about that, and she was talking about listening to us.
Oh, okay.
And then she goes, I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
And I've heard that
like half the
one or
time.
two
She goes,
times
but
before.
I just listen. It's kind of cool. I got people that I know that are kind of doing this thing, and and it's something I guess I do once in a while. I just listen to something that I know nothing about. But what I've been listening to a ton lately is that guy in the United Kingdom.
Okay, I haven't even listened to him yet.
Dude,
I think we
dude,
do
there's
that a
so
lot
much.
of times
There's
where I'm like, check
there's.
this out. Or
I
you're
know,
check
like
this
how
out,
many
and we
things
just
have you
don't.
sent me that I'll screenshot and be like, okay, I need to check that out, and you're like, did you check that out yet? And I haven't. But so I had sent him. It's Chris Cochino. I don't even know how to say it. So he's a commercial food and beverage photographer, United Kingdom, and he's really great. He's really great, and he's big on the business side of things. Right. He doesn't show you how to shoot. It's all about the business side of things with him. And so he's been doing this YouTube thing for a few years. Basically started, I think, just before COVID, and he's really big on niche down to what you're going to shoot. And so that resonates with me. With you.
Okay.
Because you're like, this is what I want to shoot. This is what I want to do. I want to shoot this. I want to print this. I want to sell this. This is what I want. And then there's me. I'm the jack of all trades guy, right? Can shoot anything, mediocre at everything, not exceptional at anything, right? Some people will say I'm worse at things than others. Some people will say I'm exceptional at things. I'm just one of those jack of all trades, right? And so I've been listening to him, and I'm like, okay, I need to start niching down, because he was talking about essentially his time frame from when he started to when he niched down. And I'm kind of at that same point where he was, where you're pretty good at everything. You're making okay money. You have an okay career, but it could be exceptional if you just niche down. And
I think our area too limits that to an extent.
Correct.
And I mean that's the biggest thing about anything that either you or I do is a location thing. And even mine, if you look at from where I started to where I am now in terms of where I took images or made images,
right.
I've been pulling that back closer and closer to home, and I've even got friends saying, let's go here or there, in a certain spot in the world, and I'm like, there's enough close to home that right now that I want to photograph.
Right.
And, them images are coming closer and closer to home. And some of that started because of COVID and different things like that. But over time, that definitely changes, or you grow as a photographer.
Yeah, and so one of the things that he was talking, so he's based in the United Kingdom, but he's not in London, and he's like, he goes, so to get these really big campaigns, he goes, you have to be close to, London, New York, different Paris,
where your
Paris.
big companies
right?
are.
And so I'm looking and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not relocating to New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to come. It's never. It's like,
not in your wheelhouse.
I don't want to say never, but it's not exactly on my list, right? So there's that, but I keep thinking, I'm like, I could dial it in a little bit more, so less families, and I've kind of told people this. I'm like, I'm still, I will still shoot your family, but I'm not the family guy.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended.
Right.
But, so because there's other photographers that are better at it than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally had one of my clients and they're like, well, and I go, I do have a grandfathered thing.
Uh-huh.
You're my client. You need it. I'll take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm niching down pretty hard into seniors right now, seniors, weddings, and then getting into that food and beverage. I kind of want to try out the liquor space a little bit because I like photographing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm somewhat at a disadvantage because of my weddings.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I've already done a couple things that he has suggested for me. He's like, keep your weddings separate from your portraiture. And I separated that. I did that. Now, that's all on the same page, but the websites are different.
Okay.
So, my portrait work is one thing. My wedding work is another. My commercial work is another website that is in complete disrepair. It needs to be completely redone. And so I need to start developing it. And so I talked to you about this the other day. I'm like, I want to start getting a portfolio of images for these that I can at least present to Iowa companies or Midwest companies to shoot campaigns for them directly. I'm never going to, living in Northwest Iowa, I'm never shooting a campaign for Jack Daniels.
Right.
It's just probably not going to happen.
Unless for some reason you got some super big social media following, you blew up,
Right.
like a Peter McKinnon or something like that. Like, they're going to have to want to bring you in.
Right.
And, that's an added expense for them, and they would know it. So,
Right.
You have to bring a lot to the table. Then, this is a good looking image.
I actually, so there's a photographer, videographer that I know is in Louisville.
Okay.
And he really, really, really wants to bring on somebody to shoot for him locally. He's like, but it has to be like the certain person, right? And I was like, man, I wish I was closer. He's like, you could be,
Right.
And he does a lot of the same stuff that I do, but he's got a lot of big corporate clients, and he goes, I just need to keep them happy, so I have to have the right people.
Mm-hmm. Which is, especially any type of creative like atmosphere, like if you want to create, especially on a high level, you need the people around you that can back that up.
Right.
And you can't work at a high level and bring somebody on that really doesn't know anything, where you have to teach them along the way.
Well, I think some of it's not even the knowing, it is the right personality / know the etiquette, know how to act. And even if you don't know it, you can fake it pretty well.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. And so it was a consideration, but I was like, the hell am I going to do in Kentucky? Besides drink Jim Beam.
You got family here, you got another grandbaby on the way.
So there's and there's been some other opportunities that have been thrown at me, talking in Palm Beach for 2 years, starting next year. That conversation hasn't really gone anywhere. And so I'm legit playing everything just by ear at this point. Like any of my contracts will always be fulfilled no matter what. But I'm just like, I was like, I kind of don't want to just be like locked into one place and one thing. I just kind of want to just go.
And see, that's my hesitation. And I've talked to you about this recently. just pursuing the commercial side of photography,
Right.
you know, with weddings and stuff. You know, and my big holdup about weddings have always been, what if something else comes up?
Right.
You know, an event that I want to go shoot at, or an opportunity that, you know, comes along once every so often.
Right.
You know, I've also got a dog that, you know, he's towards the end of his life. You know, he's up around 15 years old. So, you know, other than that, I don't date or anything.
Right.
Most people don't realize that about me. Like, I just have, eventually maybe. Right now I just don't have a desire. Like, my desire is more to push myself photographically, than relationship wise, I guess. I don't know what direction my life's about to go in, but I know what direction I want it to go in. So
Yeah,
I
you-
don't.
Yeah, you still live here, but I don't. You know, we've talked about that. You know, there's, you know, you don't have to go very far to kind of get into more of an area you want to be in
Mhm.
and spend some more time in.
But yeah, I mean, that's, you know, what, you know, when you're talking, you know, plans of moving away, you know, that's kind of, you know, you start booking weddings a year, 2 years in advance, you're kind of locked in on that.
Yeah.
You know, you're planning your life 2 years in advance.
Oh, my life's a year and a half out. I mean, I had that conversation with school stuff. I'm like, we have to
Mhm.
get this booked
Yep.
because right now I'm missing opportunities,
Mhm.
you know, for the month of December for this year because it's not scheduled yet. I mean, I'm booked out as far as October of next year.
Mhm.
And so Addison will have been graduated high school.
Mhm.
You know, McKenna's attempting to plan a wedding for September-ish.
Great. Yep.
You know, it's kind of up in the air right now. You know, we kind of shell-shocked them a little bit and said, okay, you guys go get some prices because I don't think you quite understand
Mhm.
what putting this whole thing together actually costs.
Yeah.
Because Dad
Come-
ain't got it right now.
Coming from somebody who works a wedding on a regular
Right.
basis, that sees all the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
You know, from the couple to the, you know, the vendors and you know, there's a lot that goes into a wedding, and a big part of that is cost.
Yeah. And so I kind of put a cap on some things for that. But, you know, I also want good photography, good
Mhm.
video. I actually had somebody there like, you're not going to do it? I go, oh, hell no.
You'll probably have a camera, but that'll
I'll
be
have a
the extent
camera,
of
but
it.
I want to enjoy it.
Mhm.
Like, I want to have a good time, you know? And so that's... And that's the one thing that I've been working on is being able to go to things without a camera.
Mhm.
And like I had him giving me shit the other day at the basketball game in Storm Lake.
Mhm.
Where's your camera? Oh, it's at home. I'm like, the last time I used it at one of our games, I shot 8,000 pictures.
Right.
You know, if y'all want to put a kitty together, you know, to hire Tim to come do it, I'm like, I don't have a problem doing it.
Mhm.
I go, we just played this team like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm like,
Right.
I just
It's the
photographed this.
same-
I
it's the
just
same
photographed this
pictures.
game, you know. And they're like, oh yeah, fair enough, you know. And I was like, I get it,
Mhm.
I get it. And I go,
It's nice for them to have pictures.
well, there's 2 to 3 other people from our school that go and they photograph too. And there's one gal, I kind of feel like a dick because I can't remember what her business page is, but she's been doing some of the sports, and we talked
Mhm.
last week or this. I don't even remember when we talked. It's been within the last week, and we were talking about it. She's like, I got to pick your brain for weddings. I said, okay. You know, what do you want to know?
Mhm.
And she's like, you know, well, one of my friends is getting married and wants me to shoot a wedding. I've never shot a wedding. I said, so don't.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I said, so don't if you don't. And she's like, you know, well, and I said, that's fine. I said, yeah, feel free to ask. And we were talking about the sports stuff because she was shooting them. She goes, I like to shoot dogs.
Mhm.
I like to photograph dogs, dog shows, that type of stuff. I'm like, cool.
Mhm.
Like, you got your thing, right? And I go, I like to, do the sports because I just like the challenge of it.
Mhm.
And a bunch of the kids are my seniors,
Mhm.
so I like to do it
Right. Yeah.
and provide them some extra images.
It's a way to stay in contact, and
I try to go to the games anyway because my daughter's a cheerleader,
Mhm.
so we try to do that. But it's kind of fun being able to go to the games and it's taken me a little bit to go, man, I don't have my camera. But like I can yell and bark and holler and stuff when I don't have a camera, because you get thrown out if you do that when you got one.
Right.
If you're down on the sidelines, you can't say nothing.
Mhm.
They will throw you in a heartbeat. So
And see, that's what, like, I go to a game and I've never been a sports person. Like, I go and shoot and, that's my excitement. I
Right.
hope the home team wins, but really I
Right.
don't have much stake in the game.
it's kind of fun to get some cool images. I mean, to get some stuff, but
it's fun to go and shoot just for me, it's just the challenge of it, trying to get, create something different I haven't created before.
Right.
That's all it is.
yeah.
So.
And so and we approach all of that stuff differently.
Mhm.
Because you're kind of trying to create something, and I'm trying to capture it.
Mhm.
Which-
We have two very different ways of looking at the world or trying to record the world.
Right.
And but that's the great thing about like all photographers and like even the group that I go shoot with in Des Moines on a regular basis. We kind of understand each other's shooting style. Kind of like you and I do. Usually most of us are shooting on film, but we'll be out on a walk and 5 guys can walk past the same location, and then the next one takes an image
Right.
and ends up making an incredible image, and you're just like, nobody else seen that. Everybody else walked right by it.
So that one in Des Moines with the guy on the bike, the dog,
Oh yeah,
like that, that is
I remember seeing that all come together, and
that was fucking incredible.
So yeah, thank you.
That guy, like, you sent me that. I'm like, holy shit! Like, that is just, there's so much in that one frame.
In the one frame, there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of action, and there's just a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I try to put into a lot of my images. A lot of it comes down to most people's attention span looking at an image. Most of the time, they will never take enough time to realize what's all happening in a single frame. And I think sometimes, like, I try to put too much into it, and a lot of people don't quite catch it.
Yes and no. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know who David Yoel is? He's a wildlife photographer.
No, I don't.
And so I have watched his little, I can't remember what it's on. So he's what does he consider himself? A fine art wildlife photographer.
Okay,
So
yep.
fine art being black and white, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, typically when you start talking fine art, what that amounts to is what it's printed on. Like a lot of people now, they'll print on like a metal or a canvas, and they'll call it fine art. Well, traditionally, it's usually on fine art paper,
A luxury paper.
So, yeah.
But so he was talking, he goes, people will go on a trip, and they'll come back with all kinds of images. He goes, I'm lucky if I come back with 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of the same way, like beyond my family, and we've talked about this. If I can I'm happy if I get 2 wall hangers a year.
Mm-hmm.
Something that isn't my family or my dogs that I want to print
Mm-hmm.
and put on the wall. And I did that last year. I have 2 of them hanging up. But the one I have yet to stretch,
Mhm.
because it's a 6-foot Highland cow.
Yep.
And that's my one wall hanger flash. I got no wildlife, nothing else that I'm like, I want that on my wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. So I had a guy come over and look at all the sheetrock work I need done at this other house.
Okay.
And I said, hey, before you leave town, can you swing by my house? I might have you do my ceiling in my living room because it's old and it's got some bows in it. I want it taken care of
Fixed.
while you're in town. And he walks in, he kind of looks around, and he goes, this looks like a photo studio. And I said, well, I have one of those too. And he's like, oh, okay. And so I told him, I'm like, well, this is what I have in Spencer. And he's like, oh, my wife says we need a new
Mm-hmm.
family photographer. Would you, but, and Melanie, we're kind of talked about some of he liked the big picture of Huck and,
Mm-hmm.
some of the other stuff. And of course my Pelican is sitting there on the wall.
Yep.
And Mel's like, the pelican doesn't really go. And I go, leave my pelican out of this because it drives. Addison's like, why do we have a pelican in the living room? I go, that is one of my favorite pictures of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is one of my faves. That, you know, like, it's crooked too, you know, but I've got like 3 that I just love, you know, and it's just funny. And, you know, so like when you're talking about back to where I started with all this, you know, when you're talking about all of the stuff that people don't always get when they're looking at that image,
Mm-hmm.
like that image, like that one's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen, like, I don't know how many times I've seen snaps of this one,
Mm-hmm.
but like that picture, that street photography picture
Is one that's etched in your
burned.
mind.
It is burned into
Mhm.
my head because it is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is so fucking cool. This is so cool because there's I'll have it up if you'll send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it
I
to you,
will.
yeah.
I will put it in with this video, but you all got to see this because it's incredible. It's
yeah,
cool.
it's captured with a 24 millimeter lens, and I can't remember exactly the film. I think it was maybe an Acros 100 or Ilford Delta 100. I think is what
Yeah,
it was. So
I don't know. So it's funny because like you added me to that 35 millimeter photography group.
35 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's some cool pictures in there.
Yeah,
It's fun
yeah.
just to watch all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now it's, you know, you have some people that have been doing it, you know, pretty much their whole life. And then you have other people that know absolutely nothing about it. And,
Right.
you know, it was
Yeah,
that one
was what
conversation.
started it.
And so the girls seen a TikTok video. They pulled the film and they scanned it using a DSLR camera. So what you're doing is you're holding a negative up to a bright light, you know,
And photographing
and
it.
then, and then photographing it. And then there's apps that will invert the
Yep.
the negatives and turn it into a digital image, and then you can post it on Instagram. So she's seen this in a TikTok video. She bought a film camera, bought the film, shot the film, pulled it out of the canister, and held it up to the light. And she was wondering why there was no images on the picture. She
Right.
couldn't even take a photograph with them. And she was having a hard time understanding when people were trying to tell her that this is a chemical development process. Like, this is light sensitive material. It has to be sent in
Right.
or developed on your own. And she was trying to say, no, I developed it with a digital camera. And so it ensued this big, long conversation. And you know, she ended up sending me some messages, and we went kind of back and forth. And I think I kind of got her in the right direction.
Well, there was a lot of people that just came in hot and just kind of laughed.
Oh, yeah.
Laughed about it, you know. And I was, you know, my comment was like, I was like, just take it out and just send it in somewhere.
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, I happen to have a lab close that is Jason Braunschweig,
Mhm.
and she's like, is there a website?
I didn't see that.
I think there's a website, but I don't think it has anything to do
Right.
with developing the film. But
And I think she was from Georgia or
right,
someplace.
right. So, but tell me, I guess, you know, I want you to kind of talk about your last 2 months with all of your film stuff that you've been doing.
So yeah, you know, like I was talking about when I think we got started, you know, I kind of started with some darkroom processing in my bathroom. You know, set it up, kind of figured out what I needed, what I didn't. You know, I sent some snaps of my enlarger to people, and they're like, "Oh, I bet that thing cost a fortune." I'm like, "I paid $50 for it."
Right.
And you know, I got 2 of them for $100, and the one looks like it's never been used. And then another, you know, the rest of the darkroom stuff, you know, I traded some prints for.
Mhm.
So basically, I had the time and the money of the prints and the frames, you know, for this whole darkroom setup. So majority of my darkroom setup didn't cost me much of anything. I think my biggest expense was the sink that I ended up putting.
Right.
You know, everything else was put together with basically reclaimed lumber, you know, that I had sitting around the house, or I took something apart, and so I just reused everything else that I had. So, you know, I've been kind of steadily putting that together for the last 6-8 months, I think. So I kind of got moved in there maybe December, where I was able to make my first couple test prints out of there. And then just recently made some big changes, got me some more room in there, set it up where it's a little bit more compact. I'm not having to move around quite so much. So I just got that back. What day is today? Thursday. So I just got that back working, I think Monday or Tuesday, maybe.
Yeah.
I was back in there for the first time. So then last couple days I've been working in there, and I've been trying out some new, I guess, processes, is what you call it, which is basically, after you've done. So I'm trying to come up with the words not to complicate this too much. So when you're editing in the darkroom, there's different filters you can use, and these are not like when people think photography filters, they're
They think
thinking
like
something on
softening and all that.
Instagram,
Yeah,
and people ask me what I use for filters.
right.
I'm like, my filters are a
colors.
whole colors, or they're black and white, neutral density filters, that kind
Right.
of thing, polarizing filters. So you can put different colored filters on. So you have a light sensitive paper, you have an enlarger, which is basically a lamp source focused through a photographic lens. So you get everything sharp in focus. You put your light sensitive paper down. You run several different tests, which are going to tell you how much time is you got to run the light on that light sensitive paper to create an image. Once you get that established, then you start doing the editing process. So maybe this area needs to be darker, maybe this area needs to be lighter. And so you're dodging and burning the same way that you would do in a digital Lightroom or
Right.
Photoshop. So then you also start swapping out these different colored filters, which is going to give you grades of contrast. And then you can start doing what's called split grading. So if you want your midtones or your lighter tones to be, a certain color of gray or
Right.
black or white, you're adjusting that with all the different colored filters. So then recently I got into bleaching prints. So you're using potassium ferrocyanide, which is mixed with water, and basically you get done with your print, and then afterwards you're bleaching out the whites, and it starts with the highlights, works in the midtones, and then the blacks. And I've got another chemical coming, which is going to help with the blacks and a few other things that should arrive today. Along with, I've also got a whole different new kind of alternative process.
Right. And that's kind of what you were talking about. So, I've kind of been watching this through Snapchat because I've seen you like twice.
Right. In
Like
2
we have
months.
not, like
Yeah.
we have been doing like our own thing for the last month and a half, 2 months.
We talk on the phone,
We
but
ta-
that's about it.
Yeah. So like you'll send me a snap and I'll call you and be like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
But like seeing these, and I know you've been working on a website.
Yep.
And so like, I'm going to jump into sales mode here.
Uh-huh.
So like, Jason, tell me, what are your plans when you start to get to, when you're printing all these, is this something that everybody's just going to be able to go on and buy?
So my long range process right now, I've just been printing and archiving images. So I think I'm up to 3, maybe 4 images. I think this makes number 4. So basically, this is just an RC paper. This is just a test print. So this is one that I've hit the microphone. So this is one that I've been working on. If you follow me on Snapchat, you've seen it quite extensively. So yeah, that is a silver gelatin RC print. So that is traditionally printed. That's not inkjet. That is all done in the dark, using a red light. that is split graded. Like I said, it's an RC. That one's on RC paper. The final one that I have at home, they'll all be printed on fine art fiber-based paper. I forget what the paper density or whatever is, but that really don't matter. But super nice paper.
Right.
You know, it's
Well, see, I think a lot of that stuff, like when you start talking the details,
mhm.
I don't know if your clients give a shit.
A lot of them don't.
Right. They just want the art aspect of it. And I know that was kind of the route you were going, and it's funny, you know, because I was like, all right, sales floor is yours, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, and the details don't always matter
Right,
to a client. And so what I kind of was leading into is that you are going to be offering some for sale,
Correct.
but not. It's not just like where you go on one of my websites and go, okay, I like that, click, print, and it shows up.
Right.
Like you have to contact Jason
Mm-hmm.
to buy this, and there is X amount for sale, and that's it.
Yeah. There's once they're gone, they're gone. And that's kind of what I've been working out on paper, like how many prints that I need to make. Do I want to make several different sizes, or do I want to just print one size? This is only going to be printed in one size, and I'm trying to work out the number of prints that I want. You know, the less there are, the more valuable they are. The more they are, you know, it cheapens things up. So it's,
Right.
you know, you got to think ahead of time. What's that clientele going to want? You know, do they want something that's super, super collectible? You know, that could be worth some, you know, quite a bit more money someday. And that's kind of the route that I want to go on.
Right.
You know, we're not talking like 100 prints of this. Like there will be like 10 to 25 is kind of the number that I'm at right now total. Like if you don't buy it in that deal, they're gone. You know,
Right.
you got to find somebody that has previously bought that print to get it. If you go into museums, like this is what you're gonna get. Like they're not inkjet prints. You know, when you start talking the work of the greatest photographers, it's you know, fine art silver gelatin prints.
Right.
It's the archivability. I mean, you can see it sitting here. Like that is definitely different than any inkjet print that's out there.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, my goal will be once I get X amount ready to be sold, I want to try to pitch a gallery to try to get an exhibition in there so people can come in and see these prints. Either that or just even hold my own little, you know,
Right.
little deal, come in and you know, see the work firsthand. Or maybe people will be like, I just want this image. What's it going to cost me? Like, put me on the list.
Right.
So it's working out all them details, but they will be available this summer. There will be images available. So
Well, I need to help you get your website like fully, so people can at least go and take a look
mhm.
and see because you've got some really cool images on there. You have some pretty amazing shit, and that's not me as a friend. That is me as I've seen other people who are architectural photographers and street photographers, and you are at or above most levels when it comes to the amount of the stuff that you can see that I don't. Now, it has helped me to be around you to see some of the more abstract things, and I think probably some of what I do is rubbed off a little bit. But you know, there will like. I have not seen anybody that can shoot the stuff that you see, and do it the way you do it. And you know, I'm glad you brought this stuff because I know I kind of wanted to plug you a little bit because I really wanted you to talk about some of the stuff that you're doing. You know, because you've been investing a shit ton of time and some resources to get the right stuff. And the coolest part about all of this shit is that it hasn't seen a computer.
Right. Yeah. This is 100% analog. Like
yeah, there's no computer involved. There's no retouching in Photoshop to make this image what this image is.
Yeah, this is a 100% handmade print.
Right.
Like it's you know, it is light and time, and that's all it is.
Yep.
And there is no digital anything on that. And so yeah, in fact on the camera it's taken, there's no digital meter on it.
Right.
It's 100%. There is no battery. It's a full mechanical camera,
Right.
and you know, it's an amazing machine when you know how to use it. And you know, that's why I always push people in photography. I'm like, you know, if you're somebody who's shooting in an automatic mode, you know, if you're happy with that, do that. You know, if that
Right.
makes you happy. There is so much on the other side when you learn that manual side. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, and that's what I'm figuring out about. You know, like I even sent you match together. I'm like, this blew my mind when I found out about it. But it's learning them alt processes.
Basically the
and
redevelopment
right,
process you were
yeah,
talking about.
and it's what people did to create an image compared to what it is now. Like, it was such a craft that now we take for granted.
It's taken for granted because everybody can pull out their cell phone
Everybody's
and
a
be like, "Oh
photographer.
yeah, I got this." But like to actually do that and
Mhm.
create a photograph, you know, because 99% of people are snapshots. You know, I don't.
And not just a photograph, but a high quality piece of art
Right.
in the process. And you know, not everybody considers photography art. But I am not one of them people.
Right. Well, what you are doing is art because it's not, you know, there's no just click, you know, couple
Right,
clicks and
yeah.
you're done.
Hmm.
So, you know, it starts from your film choice to
Right.
whether you push, pull, how you develop, what you're doing in your printing process. Like there's so many different factors from the camera,
Hmm.
you know, so the camera with whatever lens.
Hmm.
So there's your first step, and then you got to decide what you put in it for film.
Right.
So
And
how-
a lot of times,
you
if
know.
you're planning that ahead of time,
Right. So, you know,
you pick. It's
okay,
just like,
I want this film, so I need to use this camera, but I want this look, so I'm going with this lens, and I'm getting this. And that was, well, and I'll show you some of the YouTube that I've been watching,
Mhm.
and he is actually shooting on 1970s Mamiya glass
Oh yeah, it's some
for
some of the
his
best-
high end,
It's
you
some
know,
of the best glass ever
on his
produced.
5D SR
Uh-huh.
Canon, because he's like, there's not a sharper lens.
Mhm.
You know, he goes, so I start, you know, and that's the conversation we have. Some of the digital stuff is too sharp, but
Mhm.
you know, for what he's doing, like it's required, but you know, but he's also got a bellows on the end for light.
Yep.
And then he's got some other stuff, and he doesn't talk a lot about the equipment.
Mhm.
He's like, you know, when he shoots a phase one, he goes, I don't own a phase one.
Right. Yeah. He's
My
renting
client
it.
pays for me to rent the phase one.
Mhm.
You know, so I have $150,000 setup
Mhm.
when I shoot this campaign.
Yeah, that's what I always
You
get
know.
a kick out of when people are like, "What's the best camera?" I'm like, "What's your budget?"
Yeah.
You know, you can go out and shoot 150 megapixel, you know, 16-bit color, you know, on a 6x, I think it's, what is it, 6x6 sensor, 645 sensor.
Right.
Like, I've got a medium format sensor, and it's a baby compared
Yeah.
to what these
Yeah.
are. I mean, they're incredible pieces of technology, and but yeah.
Well, I'm really curious where 2023 is going to take both of us.
Mhm.
So this is our first of 2023. Hopefully, we won't be waiting 2 more months.
Yeah.
We need to try to make this a weekly habit again. But you know, the weather has not been super cooperative.
Yeah, hopefully
lately.
things start warming up and things get a little bit nicer out and days get longer and
Well, it's been easier. You get done with your day, you just want to hole up at home. It's cold, it's crappy. It's
Mhm.
you know, you don't want to go out. You know,
I
don't want.
I go to the basement.
Yeah,
and
you go
hang
to the
out.
you go to the basement. I either come down. You know, I get done, and by the time supper's done, and then if we've had a basketball game or whatever, we come home, and then, you know, the Coronas and the couch is a good idea to me.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. But yeah, we'll make it not so long for the next time. But
Yeah, one of these times we'll have to do an episode in the dark room.
we'll do. We need to do that, and then we'll do a recording. We'll go walking when it gets
Yeah,
nice.
yep,
So we'll go
yep.
do something like that. Start doing some of the vlog stuff, and that was the vlog stuff is actually when I told you about this. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
because I went and I did the one, and I'm just like, ugh, you know. I didn't plan it out ahead of time, and I think that was part of my problem is that
Yep.
I need to have a plan when I do it. I just kind of grabbed the camera and went.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's stuff that we're gonna start getting into here. I'm going to start. I've got to get the other YouTube channel set up for the photographer shit,
Mhm.
and so I can start doing stuff like that. And basically, like that, I'm not even necessarily training
Mm-hmm.
on all of that stuff. I've got ideas as to what I want to do. I've been making a list of videos to try to do one video a week. Right now I'm trying to find a studio space that is going to work for what I want until mine's built. And so I keep waiting. I've got one place that I really want to be at. But they were unsure about taking it away from their own use and being able to rent it out. So if anybody knows of a nice brick building with some brick walls inside that is about 1,000 square feet, hit me up.
Tim's looking.
I'm looking. I need something. I need a creation lab, essentially. I need a place that I can set some stuff up, because what I would really like is that I want Iowa products, Iowa beverages, Iowa stuff. So if you're a business owner and you make stuff, and I want it to be something tangible,
Right. Yep.
so watches,
Selling a product,
whether it's watches, whether it's drinks, because I've done some drink photography and video stuff. Hit me up. Because I'm trying to build a portfolio, because I want to work something out, because I want to build a little bit more of a commercial portfolio. So that's my reach out to you guys. Send me some stuff so I can send it back to you with some images, because I'm trying to create that portfolio. And it's one of those things that when food stuff is going to be involved, I'm going to hire a food stylist to do it. I'm going to do it not quite to a commercial level shoot, but I'm planning on investing into my future by paying for photo shoots to build that portfolio and put it out there to see if there isn't a business that I can't help. Because in reality, that's where I want to go.
Right.
I love my weddings. I will continue to do weddings until I don't. But
that's kind of what we talk about on this show is it's just the creative side and being creators and working with other creatives, and that's kind of that avenue that you're looking at, creating with other creators that
right.
use your skills with their skill and make something together.
Yeah. So because I was super excited in January when I did the Jack Daniel's Sinatra that Paul had bought me, and I was so excited that I get this really nice bottle of alcohol that I don't open, because I'm photographing the son of a bitch before it ever gets opened, and some people are like, really? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, it's not every day you get to have a $200 bottle of Jack Daniel's sent to your house.
Right.
So, and I actually put it in that commercial group, and I had a lot of good reactions. I did have one person that said, well, you should have cut a hole in the back of the box so you could have lit it. And I was like, I get it. Like, I value that. Like, I get that. I understand why he said that, because it's really dark in the box.
Right.
And I probably could have done like some layers and stuff to lighten it up. But I was like, but this is what it looks like. I didn't want it to look like something it doesn't look like.
Right.
It looks very dark in the box, so that's what it looks like.
But that's everybody on how they're going to handle an image, and it goes back into seeing a different way. And that's the unique thing to every photographer, and why I say you don't hire a camera, you hire a photographer.
Yep. And
you're hiring for their vision, and we're all so much different, and we can hold the same equipment, but we're not going to shoot the same.
Right. That's for damn sure. So cool. Well, this is our kickoff to 2023. Thanks everybody for stopping by and listening. If you've made it this far, as soon as Jason is ready for me, I will be sharing his website for you guys all to take a look at, or he can share it, or we can share it, because we both run the page. But yeah, I appreciate everybody stopping by and seeing us kick off 2023 here in February.
Yeah, finally.
Finally, February 23rd, 23, we finally made it.
Right, we're not procrastinating at all.
No,
but we've been busy.
We've been working on our own stuff. I wanted to get my kid into the house, and you wanted to get your darkroom going.
I think this year we'll have a lot to share with people, and hopefully bring them along for some of it. Start bringing cameras. When we go on the road and do some more. Fun projects, and I'm sure we'll have our fair share this year. So
cool. All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate everybody stopping by. My name is Tim.
I'm Jason.
This is Exposed, and we are out.
All right, see ya.